The marble floors of the luxury hotel lobby echoed under the sharp, determined footsteps of a man everyone seemed too afraid to stop. Tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, the Arab billionaire's presence was as commanding as his mood was unmistakable. Furious. His security team followed closely, their eyes scanning the room, but it was clear he had only one goal: to leave. The staff stood frozen, whispering nervously, watching millions of dollars in business walk right out the door. Minutes earlier, something had gone terribly wrong in a high-profile meeting upstairs. No one dared to ask questions, but the tension hung in the air like a heavy curtain. Guests pretended not to stare, though their eyes kept darting toward the man whose wealth and power were whispered about in every corner of the city. His jet was already waiting at the airport. He wasn't coming back. Near the entrance, a young woman stood with a folder in her hands. She wasn't a guest, not part of the staff, just there. She had been waiting all morning for a chance to speak to someone important, though she never imagined that someone would be him. And right now, she had only seconds to make a decision: watch him walk away forever, or do something bold enough to make him stop. As he swept past her, she took a small breath, her heart pounding in her chest, and spoke. Not in English, not in French, but in flawless, beautifully accented Arabic. Her words cut through the noise of the lobby like a sudden silence. The billionaire stopped mid-step. His head turned slowly, his eyes locking on hers, sharp and unreadable. Every security guard froze, waiting for his signal. The staff exchanged shocked glances. The woman's hands trembled slightly, but her voice didn't waver. In that moment, everything hung in the balance: his departure, her chance. And the reason those words in Arabic had struck something deep inside him. And then he took one step toward her. His gaze was intense, almost searching, as if trying to place her face in a memory he couldn't quite reach. The woman swallowed hard, aware that every second felt stretched and heavy. Around them, the lobby had gone silent, the only sound the faint hum of the air conditioning. He said nothing at first, and that silence made her wonder if she had just made a mistake she could never take back. She had never met him before, but she knew exactly who he was. His name carried weight in the business world, the kind of man whose decisions could change entire markets overnight. He owned hotels, oil companies, and investments spread across continents. But what most people didn't know, what only she had found out through a twist of fate, was that he had once made a promise connected to her family. Her Arabic had caught him off guard because it wasn't the polite, textbook form most foreigners learned. It was rich with the warm, fluid tone of someone who had lived in the culture, spoken in homes and markets, not just classrooms. And in that brief sentence she spoke, she had touched on something only he and a few others could understand. His security team shifted uncomfortably, unsure if they should step between them or stay back. The billionaire's eyes softened for a fraction of a second, then hardened again as though he remembered why he had been leaving in the first place. The woman's mind raced. She had so much to tell him, but she didn't know how long he would stand there. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, the sense that one wrong word could close this window forever. And then, in a voice low enough for only her to hear, he finally spoke. His words were quiet, but they carried the weight of someone used to being obeyed. "Where did you learn to speak like that?" he asked, his eyes never leaving hers. It wasn't just curiosity. There was a sharp edge beneath the question, as if her answer might reveal something far bigger than either of them was ready to face. She hesitated, her mind flashing back to her childhood. She remembered the warm evenings in her grandmother's courtyard, the scent of cardamom tea in the air, and the stories told in a language that wrapped around her like a song. She had never thought those memories would matter here, in this glittering hotel in a foreign city. But somehow they did. The billionaire tilted his head slightly, studying her with the same focus he might give to a high-stakes negotiation. He wasn't a man who gave away his thoughts easily, but she could sense a shift in him, something between recognition and suspicion. The lobby staff still stood frozen, pretending to be busy while stealing glances at the scene. His private jet was waiting, but he wasn't moving toward the door anymore. Her hands gripped the folder tighter. Inside were papers, old letters, and a photograph that had driven her here in the first place. She had come hoping to deliver them to someone who could help, but she never imagined it would be him, the man her father had once spoken about. In hushed tones, as though saying his name too loudly could change their fate, the billionaire took another step closer, his voice lower now. "You know something," he said, not as a question, but as a fact. The air between them was thick with unspoken truths. She opened her mouth to answer, and then the sound of approaching footsteps broke the moment. The footsteps grew louder, firm and deliberate, echoing across the marble like a warning. Both of them turned slightly, but neither stepped back. From the far end of the lobby, a tall man in a dark suit approached, his pace unhurried but purposeful. His expression was unreadable, though his eyes were locked on the billionaire. The security team immediately straightened, a silent signal passing between them. The billionaire didn't take his gaze off the approaching figure, but his voice, low and steady, was still meant for her. "If you have something to say," he murmured, "you have seconds to say it." Her pulse hammered in her ears. This was her chance, the moment she had been preparing for. Yet the presence of the stranger shifted the air around them. Something about him felt dangerous. She could feel the weight of the folder in her hands, every piece of paper inside carrying a part of the truth she had risked so much to bring. Her fingers itched to open it, to show him what she had, but she didn't. Not yet. His eyes kept flicking between her face and the man now only a few steps away. As if trying to decide which was the greater threat, the stranger stopped just short of them. His voice was smooth but carried a hint of steel. "Sir, the car is waiting. We should leave." It wasn't a suggestion. The billionaire didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened, the muscles shifting as though he were weighing a decision, with more than just business consequences. The woman's breath caught. If he walked away now, everything she'd done to get here would mean nothing. His gaze snapped back to her, sharp and piercing, as the tension in the lobby reached its breaking point. Then he said, in a tone that sent a shiver down her spine, "Show me." Her hands trembled as she slowly opened the folder. The rustle of paper somehow louder than the murmurs that had started to spread among the lobby staff. Inside were the faded letters, the official documents, and the single photograph she had guarded like her life depended on it. She held it out, but before he could take it, the stranger in the dark suit stepped forward, his hand landing firmly. On the folder, "This is not the time," he said, his voice sharper now. His eyes met hers for the first time, and there was no warmth in them, only a warning. The billionaire's gaze hardened. "Move," he ordered, but the man didn't. It was a subtle act of defiance, but it spoke volumes. Something wasn't right. The billionaire wasn't just surrounded by loyal employees. At least one of them was keeping something from him. She could feel the shift in the air. Her instincts screamed that this wasn't simply about business or a personal grudge. There was something much bigger in play, and she was standing in the middle of it. The billionaire finally reached for the photograph, his fingers brushing the edge before the stranger reluctantly stepped aside. He stared at the image, his expression tightening in a way she couldn't read. The color seemed to drain from his face, though he masked it quickly. "Where did you get this?" he asked, his voice low, almost dangerous. Before she could answer, one of the security guards hurried over, speaking quickly in Arabic. She didn't catch every word, but she understood enough. Someone was watching them from outside the hotel. The billionaire's eyes flicked toward the glass doors, and his jaw clenched. Whatever was happening, it was no longer just between the two of them. And now, other players had entered the game. The billionaire's hand tightened around the photograph, his eyes scanning it one last time before locking on hers. "This," he said slowly, "should not exist." His tone was no longer cold, but urgent, almost desperate. The stranger in the dark suit shifted uneasily, glancing toward the doors where the figure outside still lingered. She took a step closer, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. "It exists because it's the truth, and you deserve to know it." She reached into the folder and pulled out one of the letters. Its paper yellowed with age. "My father wrote this. He said you once made a promise to protect him, and you failed." The words hit him like a blow. For the first time, the billionaire looked genuinely shaken. His eyes moved over the handwriting, recognition flashing in them. But before he could speak, the lobby doors slid open, and a man in a long coat entered. His presence seemed to drain the air from the room. The security guards moved instantly, but the newcomer raised his hands, holding something small, a matching photograph. The billionaire froze. "T.